Who needs to win more this weekend, Andy? The Patriots or the Jaguars?
Jaguars. I think Doug Peterson is on the ropes. You know, we talk about the emotion and energy today. I think this is a game where that could matter. Like, there's certain weeks, going to San Francisco, whatever, you can be in a great mood, you can have great energy, vibes, and I think you're going to get squashed because you're not nearly good enough to beat the 49ers. This game, the team that actually plays with some energy, plays with some fire and some vibe, might have a chance to win this game. And you got Doug Peterson bitching about the culture in his organization, which I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, we generally tie to the head coach. You set the culture, coach. So if the culture sucks, you suck. I think Doug Peterson might be on the ropes for the Jaguars. We've seen London and foreign games cost people their jobs either immediately or shortly thereafter. Bill Belichick, I would say, may have lost his job across the pond. The Patriots, this is a long build. We know what they are. They're right at the beginning stages. Their quarterback's in week 2. Their coach is in week 7 or whatever the hell it is. I mean, could they use it? Maybe, to feel better, feel good, feel right. But I think Doug Peterson and company, they're a sinking ship, and he may be kicked off the ship.
Yeah, I think there's much more at stake there for that team, which is a team that is further along in their cycle, which we heard Drake Maye talk about cycles on Wednesday, and I totally missed this when he said it. We'll get into it. That was basically his excuse for why they didn't have any sort of stake in Devontae Adams or Amari Cooper, or how they're not really in the business of going out and trading for a wide receiver, because those teams are in a different cycle than the Patriots are in. And I don't buy that in terms of trading for a wide receiver, but I do think that there are different cycles that teams are in. The Jaguars right now have already extended their young quarterback. They have a coach who 2 years ago it seemed like was on pace to turn this team into a contender. 2 years ago, this team won a playoff game. This team only lost by, I think, a touchdown to the Chiefs. Like, they were a team that it seemed like was on the cusp of becoming something significant in the AFC. And then last year happened, and now this year they're off to a terrible start, and it seems like it's all just collapsed inward. And that really just goes to show a lot of cautionary stuff about young quarterbacks, about new coaches, about trying to do a little too much. They got rid of their defensive coordinator, brought in that guy from the Falcons. Like, they've had some real issues, and those issues have manifested themselves into a 1-5 season so far, and perhaps one bad loss to the Patriots, and I think any loss to the Patriots is considered a bad loss, away from another restructuring of some kind. You can't do anything about Lawrence, as you said. I mean, that's locked in, but in terms of everything else, I agree. I think there's a lot at stake here for them.
There were expectations. There were some people that thought, not only is it a playoff team, could it win a playoff game type team, and the solidifying of the structure of the team with the Lawrence extension and everything there, and then you go out and you're a 1-win team and you're going to go lose to another 1-win team, which basically is admitting every time they talk that they're in a multi-year rebuild.
Yeah.
Whatever the messaging, the words they use, they're basically telling you they're not trying to win. They're in a multi-year phase project here, and you can't beat them when you didn't travel. Like, all the circumstantial factors should favor the Jags here, and maybe that's why they're the favorite by 5.5 points or whatever it is at this point. But yeah, I think they should be a desperate team. Now, I'm not overly familiar with how Shad Khan runs his operation, but I can't imagine with their part-time status as a part-time London team, like that's their second home. They got embarrassed last week. Are they going to get embarrassed again 2 weeks in a row and just take it and not care and move along like nothing happened? I feel like, and this gets into Bill watch, because I still feel like Bill hovering over everything. If Bill's a legitimate option for them, which I don't love the option, I don't love the story, do it quick. Get it done, right? Like, I still think that could push somebody to do something sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it could happen. I mean, the Jets obviously made a move here, so it's not like they're waiting around too long. I think that with this Jaguar team, you got to do something. I mean, there has to be something, and maybe this season's sort of out the window, but you have a lot of pieces locked in place that you can't really do much with, and tearing it all down and building it back up around Trevor Lawrence just seems like a tough thing to do, considering you were in the second round of the postseason just 2 years ago. 617-779-7937 is your phone number. We got room for you here on the line, as it's a Patriots Friday, getting ready for a England showdown with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Back to Drake Maye and his knee for a second.
Yeah.
Why the secrecy? Why are they being so weird about it? Like, could it be something like what you were talking about the other day? Like, they don't like the fact that May asked for the MRI. They're trying to be very secretive about his medical stuff. I mean, they've talked about other players getting MRIs, so I don't think it's that. What do you think this is all about?
I think he asked for it. I got to be honest. The vibe, and I don't really know what exactly the way they said things today, but watching Mayo, I got the vibe that maybe he asked for it, and he pulled a bit. We don't really talk about injuries or whatever around here, and I was like, wait, I think we do now. They didn't used to, but I think the new coach does. And you're right. We've had Sunday nights and Monday mornings, Greg Hill, Zooms, whatever, where Mayo has said, he's actually getting imaging right now or getting an MRI right now. We'll know a little bit more later. So why would you be hesitant? Is it just because the quarterback is different, which I understand. The quarterback is different, right? Like if Mike Onwenu is getting an MRI, no one really cares.
Right.
They just want to know, is he going to play or not? If Drake Maye is getting an MRI, that's a story. And in part, they know what was said. Like, they've even changed their tune on it, right? In August, Alex Van Pelt said the offensive line and protecting Maye had nothing to do with it. This week, Gerard Mayo said, the offensive line and protecting Drake Maye definitely had something to do with the delay. Well, if he goes out and he gets hurt, it's not just talk radio callers and snarky people on Twitter that are going to be dealing in the conversation of, oh, nice, you broke him, just like we knew you'd break him because you put him out there behind a bad line. So I think there's a lot of potential reasons why they might treat it differently. But the vibe I got was he didn't feel quite right, and he wanted an MRI. And I don't know if I love that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little – listen, there's nothing inherently wrong with saying, hey, I hurt myself. But you do have a team of doctors. You do have a team of trainers. You have physicians. You have all these people there on staff who could take a look at it, who could sort of suggest these things or suggest – and listen, they all have a stake in Drake Maye being healthy. They all have a stake in making sure that he doesn't really mess his knee up long term. I mean, this is a guy that they invested a third overall pick in. This is a guy they want to have be the quarterback of the future, right? I mean, we all agree with that. Absolutely. We know that this whole organization is in lockstep when it comes to that. What they do disagree on is when and how often maybe he should be playing. And I think that that's part of it. And I also wonder, and we did talk about this a little bit yesterday, and some texters and various people were sort of chiming in on it too, about what if it was one of those people who ordered the code red? What if it was Elliot Wolf? What if it was Alex Van Pelt? What if it was someone who believed that putting Drake Maye out there or this early in the season was a bad idea? Because I think at this point it's pretty safe to say that this was not a unanimous decision. They didn't all. There were dissenters. There were dissenting opinions, like the Supreme Court. There were people who wrote their dissents, and we don't know exactly who it is, but we have a pretty good idea based on the comments of Van Pelt, based on the comments of Gerard Mayo, what side of this topic they were both on. And I wonder if maybe, hey, look at that. Hey, you see that hit he took? Oh, you see him get up a little awkwardly there, a little tender, limping around a little bit during practice, which, by the way, another part of this, we don't know if this happened during the game or during practice. They didn't give us any more information on that either, which I also find annoying. Can you at least say when it started to bother him? Like, can we get a little data there? They don't want to tell us anything about anything. That's suspicious. That makes me more suspicious than I would have been if they were like, yeah, there was an MRI, nothing's there, and it started hurting him on Wednesday. I'd say, okay, fine. No big deal. But now that they're being all weird about it, now I think there's something going on.
Especially because of, again, expectation. They set an expectation where they do kind of talk about injuries. They are kind of open, and now they're not. And in the old days, again, we assumed they were closed and shady about everything. They wouldn't tell us about any injury with any player, anybody. But now that they're doing this with Drake Maye, it does. Yeah, you could wonder, did he get hit in practice? Were they dumb enough to let Drake Maye take a hit? Or did somebody do something stupid? Did Keon White, stumble into him or something in some pass rush drill? Mayo has said they're doing a lot of ones versus ones, right? Yep. They're starting practice ones versus ones, trying to start faster. Those are tempo drills. There's no doubt that that's a possibility because they haven't told us it isn't a possibility. No.
Andy, we're losing you a little bit here, so I'll take it from here. But I agree. I think that there is definitely, now that it's shrouded in this mystery, there's reason to start questioning this. If it was just, hey, his ankle or whatever, his knee hurt him, he got landed on it funny, got hit, someone landed on him, anything. I mean, any explanation of it would be satisfactory, I think, to most people. Even the people who are like, oh, you should have kept him in bubble wrap. They probably want to know what happened to and when it started to bother him. And this is the type of information that you generally get or you see in a game we didn't really see him limping around in the game. We didn't see any knee stuff. We saw him get hit. We saw the thing with his shoulder when Daniil Hunter came off the edge, or Anderson, whoever it was, and suplexed him, kind of pile drove him into the ground there. But we didn't see anything with the knee. So I tend to lean that it's something that happened in practice this week. It didn't really rise to the occasion of, okay, we got to limit him in practice anymore in the week, unless they were lying, which I don't think they were. There was probably an MRI. No one denied it. If there wasn't, I'd say it'd be an easy denial, and they didn't deny it. So, yeah, here's what I think happened. Someone hit him in practice, or he landed funny in practice. There was an MRI. It didn't show anything. He's good to go. They had to put him on the injury report because of the MRI. They couldn't just completely ignore that. And there was maybe a little bit of pain or discomfort. And it's not bad enough to keep him out. And it's as simple as that. I think that's it. If you had just said that, I don't think there'd be all this weird sort of mystery around it. But when you act shady about it, then that's going to naturally raise people's antennas. Andrew, do we have you back?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey,
now.
how
Yes.
are you?
Very
How are
good.
you? Yes, I am not concerned about this, but I am intrigued because they're making me intrigued. You just said it. There's no shame in a quarterback having a knee MRI. There's no shame in a quarterback being dinged up. Hell, I think Jacoby Brissett was dinged up most weeks when he came in to see us at Gillette Stadium on Mondays.
Definitely.
But the reality is they want to be an open book until they stop being an open book. They've done it multiple times now. The Judon situation. Oh, we want players to talk. We like to keep things in-house. You just said you wanted players to talk. Now you want to keep them in-house? You've been telling us about injuries and guys going to get imaging and MRIs. Gerard Mayo has been just flat out saying it in press conferences. And now we're not going to talk about imaging and MRIs? Like, you're making us wonder if there's something shady going on here when normally just put him on the injury report and full participation. Don't you kind of usually just ignore full participation?
Yes.
Like that means the guy has a little boo-boo, but he took all his reps. But then the report from Ben Volen, and good on him. Good on him getting it, and good on him getting it right, and good on him sort of bleep-viewing the rest of the world that may have doubted him. But there's definitely something to keep an eye on here, because I'm more concerned not with the injury, but with whatever's going on. The sniff test, like something smells a little funky that they're treating this in a weird way. I will also say, though, the people that might want to take a victory lap and say, I told you he was going to get hurt. Well, I'm going to take a victory lap and say, I told you he could play in an NFL game. That was the worst situation you could have put him in. And he went out there and he balled out. He absolutely balled out. Don't tell me he didn't. We have the PFF guys telling me it was the best first start for any of the rookies this year. It was a middle-of-the-pack grade for just this week. And middle of the pack for a guy making his first start against one of the best defenses in the NFL with pressure, and also they scored a bunch of points, so he's chasing. That's more valuable to me. That's not just an 18th ranked grade. Like, that's a really impressive performance. So, yeah, if you want to take a victory lap and tell me he got hurt and you were right, sure, you do it. And then when you're done with your victory lap, I'm going to take mine and say he looked like an NFL quarterback who lifted the entire offense. And I would say the energy and the vibe of this football team has gone nothing but up in the last week plus.
Anybody taking a victory lap over him being a full participant in practice and getting an MRI is ridiculous. That doesn't mean that if he got really hurt, what did we always hear? Oh, you can't put him back there. He's going to get killed. Did he get killed?
No.
Or did his knee hurt a little bit? Maybe not even from the game, but from the practice later in the week, and he got an MRI and then didn't miss a single rep in practice the whole entire rest of the week. What kind of victory do you even consider that to be? That's not a victory for you. That, if anything, you're right, Andy, proves the opposite, that he's tough and that he can go out there and even if he does get dinged up a little bit, he can shake it off. He's 22. He can shake it off, get back to practice, go back out there, and be ready for the next game. Across the country, across the pond, I should say, in another country with a long plane ride, which I'm sure wasn't super comfortable for a big, tall guy like him with a banged-up knee having to sit in a plane all that time. You know, like that's all of that. That's all part of it, and it shows that he's tough enough to be able to do it. So, yeah, that'd be a very, very misguided victory lap. But in fairness, I haven't heard a lot of people doing that.
No, but something smells, right?
There is something
a little
weird. There is something weird here.
There's something that's off with this team that proclaims to be transparent and proclaims to tell us the information they want us to know, and they'll be open with certain topics. They have treated this week weirdly, and quite honestly, if we didn't have Ben Volen, it would be different already, right? Like, he found out. Otherwise, we would have just had that he's a full participant with a knee injury. Mm-hmm. And maybe the Dr. Chow thing, I don't know if he would have picked up on anything or analyzed anything without the Ben Volen MRI report, because Dr. Chow is the one that said he saw the practice field footage and thought he saw swelling and a limp from Drake Maye.
What an eye.
Well, he's a professional. He's
Eagle
a doctor,
eye.
right? You go to medical school, you see certain things, you learn certain things. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we would have even had that. We would have just been going about our business like it's nothing. The real injury of the week that I think we need to talk about, and we will moving forward, is Ramondre Stevenson being there and proclaiming he's going to play. I think that's huge.
Says
that
he's going to play.
That might change my pick.
Mayo comes out and says he's going to be a game-time decision, so we'll see if that actually happens or not. That, I think, would put a big wrench into everybody's expectations for this game, because coming into it, I assumed he wasn't going to play. He didn't practice all week.
Yep.
So I assumed that meant he was out of the game plan, and that maybe was more of a Bill thing, like if you don't practice during the week, I can't play you. This is different. This is a different situation with Stevenson. They saw what that run game looked like without him, and it was heinous. I mean, watching them try and run the ball against that Texans team, which is a good defense, as you said, was no fun and really forced May into having to throw on third and long pretty much every time they tried to run it. And so if he's playing, and this is not a good defense, by the way, this Jaguars defense, we'll get into it when we get to the scouting report. Really, really bad. About as bad as the Patriots' offense has been through the first 5-6 weeks before May got there. That's how bad Jacksonville's defense has been all season long, even in the game that they won. So you've got a real opportunity here to take advantage of a reeling defense, and I think that would be a lot easier to do if you have your main runner, your main running back, and the guy who the offense, frankly, was built around this year, Ramondre Stevenson. So him playing, I agree. Even if it's sort of limited, like decoy type stuff, like I think that will make a big difference here in this game, in this offense, and in the game plan for what they expect May to do and how much they want him to throw. You want him to throw no matter what, right? Like
yes,
if Stevenson's there.
That's I'm a little torn on this. My little fear is AVP gets Stevenson back. It's like, oh, okay, forget about it. I know I said we were going to throw more. Nope, we got him back. We're going to run. But you said he's a better decoy. If they do like I want to do and get him in the backfield and run play action, at least theoretically there should be more fear in the Jags defense of Stevenson, especially those wide zones, do the boot, the whole thing, get Drake Maye rolling. So as long as this doesn't mean they suddenly start running more, running is fine because I think Stevenson is good. We've seen all year he breaks tackles. When he doesn't fumble, he's a good running back, good productive player for this offense. But I still want them to lean a little bit more aggressive toward the passing game.
Yeah, I would like to see that as well. Drake Maye probably wants to see that too. I'd imagine he wants to go out there overseas and air it out.